Hi, welcome to Andrew Buckle book review of These Are the Voyages. This is season 1. I haven't got season 2 or season 3, but they do exist. This cost me 25 quid. Really great purchase. You can get it in hardback as well as paperback. I think the hardback is a lot more expensive in most cases. Excellent books, and this here is expanded and revised edition. It came out in 2013. There's 650 pages, packed solid with information, and it's by, you can see the details there, Marc Cushman on the back, and there's the ISBN, etc. Now, I don't know if there's got price somewhere else. Anyway, this book is just superb, just packed solid with all of season 1, of course, the cage, and a lot more. Obviously, the pilot one as well. Last night I was watching some more Star Trek. I love Star Trek. I've always enjoyed Star Trek. And there's probably a few episodes here that I haven't watched for quite a while, so maybe I should get back to them. I've got this one, the season 2. I haven't actually got season 1. I must purchase season 1 on Blu-ray at some point. And this, which is excellent, Roddenberry Vaults. I really enjoyed the documentary last night. I was just going through that. I haven't bothered watching that, revisiting a classic, and that was really great to see. Also watched This Side of Paradise, which I haven't seen for quite a while as well. Thoroughly enjoyed it, especially after reading about it here. And this has just got so much background information about all kinds of things about Star Trek. Anything you probably, well, just basically everything about Star Trek. And this obviously goes, there's all the various acknowledgements, preface, etc. And then obviously a little bit about Roddenberry, all the various things he did before, obviously Star Trek. There's obviously other pictures, loads and loads of pictures all the way through this. Lots and lots of sort of ones that never actually made it onto the screen, which is just great as well. Also background things and stuff. Lots of layouts and things, which I just love to look at. It's just got so much information. In fact, probably too much information sometimes. Sometimes you look at it and you think, wow. And of course, there you got the cage. Of course, Star Trek at that point was quite different, very different from how it obviously was later. But it was still one of those episodes I always find quite fascinating to watch because you see all the characters, obviously very different. Spock slightly different as well. Obviously the Doctor completely different, and so on. Major Barrett there, and on to, now this is filming the cage. Obviously at this point, Star Trek was not a certainty, and they did another pilot. That was Where No Man Has Gone Before, which apparently is episode 1 of Star Trek. And Double or Nothing, a second pilot. Of course, this time William Shatner came into it. This was, I think it was around about 64, 65. Yes, 65. So 65. About the same time I was watching a film recently, I watched Incubus with William Shatner, which was amazing in Esperanto. It's just such an odd film, but really enjoyable. And you got there, don't know if there's any particular mention of that, but he was in Thriller and many others. He was always a very powerful actor. Thoroughly enjoyed any performance I've ever seen with him. Where No Man Has Gone Before, episode 1. I love there's a little bit about Gary Lockwood and with his eyes, which was one of the most impressive things, I think, in that excellent episode. One of my favourite episodes. But it was apparently super painful. I can well imagine. It was just like, just don't even want to think about it. And you got all the various, apparently Esper. I love this sort of information. The story behind the story, where they give the sort of Star Prime was another title. Then it became finally Where No Man Has Gone Before. But Esper was the first title. Yeah, maybe that would have been very unusual, far more dramatic. Where No Man Has Gone Before. Obviously from the title as well, obviously. Now you've got here, of course, Leonard Nimoy there, and some of the other characters, Sulu there. This is obviously the second pilot, and it gives the details about all the various ratings, which is just great, always fascinating. Of course, doesn't particularly mean so much to me because being in the UK, I think we got it about 3 years. I think it was about that. I can't recall exactly. I remember watching it at the time, back in 69, 70. Just great. I'm not certain I watched every single episode. There's possibly a few episodes I missed. For me, though, I did enjoy when I came over to the US for the first time, and it was doing a special Star Trek evening. And it was like, I thought, wow, first night I got there, Star Trek episodes all night, and I just loved it. And there were loads of, and they had all the sort of 4 episodes that the BBC never put on, like Miri Miri and those sort of things, which has gone through here as well. And you can see here, obviously, loads of great pictures of all the various Whitney in the pilot, Jeffrey Hunter, and then you've got the layouts as well, which I just think is just great. Now, there's some other brilliant books about that, with all filled with pictures and paintings and drawings and everything. And I love those as well. I must do a review of those at some point. And you can see there, Uhura. And also, one thing that's really nice when you go through these, it sort of mentions all the other characters. And last night I was watching This Side of Paradise, and I was thinking, oh yeah, there's that character. Sort of mentions him and he talks to him. And you think, were they in different episodes? And of course they were, of course. But you just sort of, they're not the main characters. So you don't really particularly give others, maybe there is. Maybe some people followed their career far more than I certainly did. And they're Kelly and Shatner, of course. Great picture there. But it goes through all the episodes. One thing I would say about this book is slightly hard to read because they don't put down the bottom the actual title, the episode. You have to go back and find. Now, sometimes I'm thinking, now are we on to this episode? What episode are we talking about at this point? You know, halfway through, you're thinking, is that, especially some of the pictures, you might think, now is that X, Y, Z? I don't know. Until you look back. Episode 3, Mud's Women. And of course, it's got, I wonder what it was called. Again, I'm certainly probably had The Women. It was called The Women before it's obviously changed into Mud's Women and so on. Or was there another title? No, that was it, I think. Production diary as well. So it's got all the details there, what they did, all the cutting costs, whatever. It's just fascinating reading all that sort of stuff. Also about things like the music, behind the scenes where they got this, what they did that, and changes. Enemy Within, that's a classic, Richard Masson. And of course, for me, some of the great stories, the ones like Shore Leave, Sildor Surgeon, or City on the Edge of Forever, Harlan Ellison, just brilliant, just to bring those great, excellent science fiction / fantasy writers in. And you've got more things there, all the production there. This is the engineering section. Looks, interesting to see that. And The Man Trap. Wasn't particularly enamoured by that one. It was okay. Not one of my favourites anyway, but I guess everyone will have their favourites. Please put in the comments below your favourite Star Trek episode. Mine, I don't know. Mirror Mirror, probably. Maybe Enemy Within, probably go in there. Loads of just so many good ones. And quite often when I watch them again, I think, oh, this is brilliant, and probably pushes it up in the list of, that was a great one. I love that one. So there's just great episodes all the way through. It and goes through everything. And again, I love there's just bits here. You got the Dell comics as well. So lots and lots of pictures all over. Oh, that one's Charlie X, of course. Charlie X one. Again, not one of my favourites there. This one was good. I love that one. Let's go to the start of it. The story behind the game. Again, probably have different covers. No, I think it looks like the title did not change. Balance of Terror, I think that one. And on to What a Little Girl's Made Of. And I just noticed H.P. Lovecraft. This is one thing I love about this book, obviously Robert Bloch, is that it just sort of, you can dip into it. Just go, oh, I'm going to look at this episode. Especially if you obviously just go and watch the programme and you think, oh, you know what, let's just read about, behind the scenes, what happened. And it's just fascinating, obviously, the old ones, the great old ones. Yeah, never really thought about it, but I guess that's always a thing as well. And again, all the ratings, post-production as well, all the various recordings, scores, etc. Again, always fascinating stuff. Dagger of the Mind, I actually quite enjoyed that one. I know it's probably not one of the great episodes, but I always love the fact that most of them were titles, obviously, from Shakespeare. Dagger of the Mind, not all of them. Galileo 7 doesn't come to mind as the title from Shakespeare. It might have been, but I don't think so. And again, got the ratings for that, apparently, all the various shows. But obviously being in the UK, not such a big deal. I don't know what the ratings were in the UK, which ones were most popular, and how popular Star Trek was. I mean, I thought it was great. I thought it was the best programme on TV, other than Doctor Who, probably. And Miri, of course, that was one that the BBC didn't show for a long time. I don't know if they ever shown it. I suppose I've never seen it on the BBC anyway, if it has been shown, but they didn't show it, I believe. There's a few others as well. I can't particularly call. Platos Stepchildren, I think, comes to mind. But this one, they didn't, probably for obvious reasons. But I watched it when I got to the US, and it was a really good episode. And then you got there the production diary, again, all the details. And, we're talking about various things here. These sort of things about the son of XYZ, returns to Star Trek in another role, which I think is just fascinating just to read sort of what happened afterwards, all these various people. For me, what was it? The Making of Star Trek. That was the book that I loved. A real mega thing. Now, I haven't got a copy of that now, But at the time, I loved that book. The World of Star Trek was another one that came out. That was in the 70s. The Making of Star Trek, just for me, was just filled with so much information. This, well, obviously extends beyond that. And of course, a lot more details now have come out, I'm quite certain. Again, you've got various characters, which let's go on to another story now. Another NBC promotional launch of Star Trek photo there. And then another one, let's just go. This one is The Conscience of the King. Another Shakespearean one, of course, as well. Lots of great actors in these as well. And probably, I don't know, that must have been the title all the way through. So you got their assessment, etc. about the show. Galileo 7. That was good. Enjoyed that one. Very enjoyable episode. Court Martial. Reading that, I'm not certain that that's the most popular one. It was fine. It was nothing brilliant, but it was fine. And, so again, lots and lots of pictures from lots of other shows as well. The Munsters pilot film. That's always good as well. Let's just go on to the next one. This is what I'm looking around. Of course, the menagerie. Well, why not? You've got the cage. You might as well put it on there. I always wonder how many pilot episodes actually get included into the actual series in the end. So this one first, the two-part story. Spock inexplicably abducts the Captain Pike, the Enterprise's former commander, etc. Again, great story. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Apparently it's called From the First Day to the Last. A bit of a mouthful, that's that title. But still, menagerie. I guess sort of describes it, but I don't know. But they obviously change things. And that's why I got one that was a Space 1999 book. And again, that was great with all the different sort of titles, all the names of people, how they got changed over time, all the various characteristics of the characters. And this is another thing that's great in here, just sort of understanding how the characters formed, all the various things that when it sort of felt they got that. Finally, it's Spock. It's Kirk. To me, Shore Leave, yes, another brilliant episode. I love this also, the inclusion of these sort of things. Again, obviously, this is an American one, press release, this one here, or whether it's the TV guide one. Just great to see that. Obviously, gives the guest cast. I must admit, not familiar with those actors in that. And then onto the Squire of Gothos. That was fine. That was an interesting one. Very unusual one. This character, I've seen loads of things. He turned up everywhere, didn't he? William Campbell. On to The Alternative Factor. Yeah. Quite often flicking through this, I think, you know what? I must watch that one. That's one strange one. Okay. Doesn't instant. Oh, Arena, of course. Classic. Absolutely brilliant. Love that one. Then on to the next one, which is Tomorrow Is Yesterday. I love that episode. Now, apparently, that was going to be one that... Was it going to be a pilot for something else, I think? That was going to be one of those stories. But still, really good. Decent. Space Seed. That's, of course, a classic as well. Let's go on to the next one. And obviously on to this one. This is the one I watched last night. Thoroughly enjoyed this one. Frank Overton as Eli. Never said that name right. Eli Sandoval. Unaired film clip, etc. That's always great as well. And again, another one that was obviously not a thing. And of course, the love interest for Spock as well. That was great. Jill Island, The Devil in the Dark, episode 26. Really amazes me how many episodes there were, because there were about 78 episodes in the first, sort of what I consider the first Star Trek, the greatest Star Trek. I'm certain everyone will have their favourites, probably Next Generation, Voyager, Enterprise, I don't know. For me, the first set, 78 stories, are always classics. And this was fascinating as well. City on the Edge of Forever, again, another obviously from the TV guide. And you got the rest, a lot of backstory there. Of course, Harlan Ellison, all the rewrites and things. It's just fascinating just reading through this. Who said what? This happened, that happened, X, Y, Z. And also, of course, some lovely behind the scenes again of where they obviously go back in time. And you got to say there, another story. And let's finish. I think this is just a brilliant book. Gone through all the episodes. I say, I'm certain volume 2, volume 3, or season 2 and 3 are just as good to read as well. This one, I absolutely love picking this up and reading through them. And I must get the Blu-ray. Just reminds me every time I think, you know what? Probably most of my favourite Star Trek episodes were in season 1. There were quite a few good ones in season 2. Mirror, Mirror, of course. But this one, brilliant, brilliant book. Really worth checking. If you're a Star Trek fan, I think this has got to be on your bookshelf. I mean, it really is. It's one of those just absolutely packed solid books with tons and tons of information. So this one, 650 pages, should be able to pick it up for about 25 quid on obviously Amazon, etc. All those sort of the usual suspects. Brilliant book. Please subscribe to the channel. Always adding new videos about all kinds of books, Star Trek, of course, Marvel Comics and many others. Also like or dislike, always appreciated. Also some comments, always great to hear from you. And bye.